At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Atlanta Braves. Friday Night Baseball is presented by Jeep. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary. By Good Humor, get sweet treats from Good Humor at the concession stand and look for the official ice cream truck in your neighborhood this summer, June 2nd through the 26th. By Fidelis Care, quality health coverage, it's their mission. By People's United Bank NA, see what know-how can do for you. And by Nationwide, speak with Steve Dukoff in Bayside or Joseph DeMonda in Wantagh today. Well, in the midst of the concrete jungle, nature still provides beauty. In the big city, with spring making its way quickly towards summer, there is beauty to be found everywhere, even at the ballpark. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me shortly as the Mets open a 3-game series against the Atlanta Braves. The Mets will play 7 of their next 9 games against the Braves, who have the worst record in the National League, albeit they've won their last 2 in Cincinnati and looking for their first 3-game winning streak since early in the season. The Mets trying to fatten up on the Braves, against whom they're already 5-1 this season. On the mound tonight for the Mets, it's Matt Harvey, and it has been a vastly different Matt Harvey that we've seen over his last 3 starts. Only has 1 win to show for it because the team hasn't scored for him, but a 0.90 ERA in those last 3 starts. And Matt appears to have his season very much pointed in the right direction. On the other side for the Braves is John Gant, who was a Mets farmhand until last summer when they dealt him to the Braves in the deal that brought Kelly Johnson and Juan Uribe. This will be Gant's 2nd Major League start, and he gets to do it in the ballpark where he'd always hoped to come to the major leagues. When we come back, a rare chance for Steve Gelbs to sit down for a one-on-one interview with Mets slugger Yoenis Cespedes as the Mets and Braves get set at Citi Field. On SNY is brought to you by Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary, a lifetime of freedom in a world of adventure. Come out to Citi Field for Father's Day this Sunday when the Mets take on the Braves at 1:10. All fathers and kids 12 and under will receive a Mets cap presented by Nathan's Famous. And after the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. As the Mets get set to play the Braves earlier today, Steve Gelb sat down with Mets slugger Yoenis Cespedes, aided by Melissa Rodriguez.
Yoenis, 12 for 31 in your last 8 games. What has been the biggest adjustment you've made here as of late?
Yoenis, está 12 por 31 en los últimos juegos. ¿Qué crees que ha pasado en el plato?
Bueno, no he tratado de hacer nada diferente, o no estoy haciendo nada diferente, solamente uno pasa por momentos malos y por momentos buenos. Creo que tuve un tiempo perdido, pero ahora me estoy sintiendo mejor en el plato.
I haven't done anything different. I'm not planning on doing anything different. I think we just go through some low points and some high points. And as of lately, you know, I was lost for a little bit, and now I'm just clicked back in.
What is your process for clicking back in when you are going through a slump? What do you do to work yourself out of it?
¿Qué haces si te está yendo mal en un slump? ¿Qué haces para que te vaya mejor para?
Bueno, sí, eso desde que estaba en Cuba, cuando caía un slump, me decían los mejores peloteros allá que no tuviera miedo de que la bola me ganara. Dejar que la bola, como uno decimos, que te gane y tratar de darle la bola del medio para right field, así hasta que le vuelvas a coger el tiempo a la bola.
This is something that, you know, I learned back in Cuba from the ball players there. Even they would say, when you're going through a slump, don't be afraid of the ball. Don't let it scare you. You need to just stay there and work at it, try to hit it straight out, and that would hopefully work.
Yoenis, Melissa, thanks for the time. Looks like that technique worked out.
Now Cespedes and the Mets offense have been clicking the last couple of days. 17 runs and 30 hits over the last 2 games. And the Mets will try and keep that working tonight as they open a series against the Braves at Citi Field. Matt Harvey making his way in. His first pitch is coming right up. Matt Harvey getting ready for the start tonight, perhaps with a nod to a New York sports icon, Joe Namath, wearing the white shoes tonight.
I mean, it's I like it. I like it.
There's the Braves batting order tonight. Nick Markakis has moved down to the cleanup spot with the emergence of Malik Smith to hit leadoff. Freddie Freeman had a great series in Cincinnati in Atlanta against the Reds in the series just completed. Travis's brother Chase d'Arnaud has been playing all over the place for the Braves. He's at third base tonight.
Really have to look at a 6-game stretch. The last 6 starts by Matt.
Malik Smith tries to drag a bunt. James Loney is on it, and he tags him out. Say he was out of the baseline, and so on the first pitch, Smith is retired for running out of the baseline.
Well, he never did tag him, and nice play by Malik Smith, and just avoids the tag. And you know what's interesting, we always ask the base runners to run on the foul side of the line, but what happens to Malik Smith? He ends up on the grass. And once you end up on the grass, that's a telltale sign for the umpire to be able to call you out.
You have basically 3 feet of leeway when you establish your own baseline, and it's not really where you go, it's how far you go to avoid the tag. And Brian Snitker, the new manager, the interim manager of the Braves, out to question the home plate umpire Mike Winters on the call, but not too much of a question. So that's how this game begins. Credit as a put out 3 unassisted for Loney, and here's Ender Inciarte. Inciarte's season got off to a bobbling start with a hamstring injury that kept him out of action for about a month, and he hasn't hit much since coming back. Harvey's already faced the Braves twice this year. Didn't pitch great in either game. Got a win and a loss. And he misses with a curveball. A ball and a strike to Inciarte.
Well, before Malik Smith bunted, and I wasn't able to finish my thought. His last 6 starts really have been the tell sign for Harvey. The first 3, 10.80 ERA. The last 3, an 0.90 ERA, as he's fought himself to get out of the slump.
Freddie Freeman hitting third in the order, waiting on deck. Inciarte laces one to center, but right at Cespedes, and that's the second out.
The Lexus defense, Conforto, Cespedes, Granderson. You can see a lot of that in the next couple of weeks. Kelly Johnson at third base. Wilmer still on the man. Cabrera, Walker, and Loney, and Kevin Plawecki starting with his friend Matt Harvey.
The expectation is that Wilmer will be able to play tomorrow after getting hit in the hand last night. He is available to pinch hit tonight. So here's Freeman, who had a great series against the Reds, 10 for 18, hit for the cycle 2 nights ago, and he flies one out to left. Conforto's right there to get it. 6-pitch inning for Matt Harvey as he sets the Braves down 1-2-3 in the first. Mets will come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. set to lead things off for New York as the Mets face John Gant for the first time. There's the Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. Walker back in the cleanup spot. Conforto hitting fifth. They came back last night, hit back-to-back home runs for the Mets.
Well, John Michael Gant, he came over to Atlanta in the trade when Uribe and Johnson came to the Mets last season. Well, another Mets farmhand. The fun thing to watch about Gant is that he has a thing called the false step when he starts his motion. You motorcycle enthusiasts, it's almost like he's starting his motorcycle once before he gets into his windup. And defensively behind John this evening, Coors Light, Malik Smith, Ender Inciarte in center, and Markakis in right. Chase Darno, Travis's brother at third base, Ibar Peterson, and Freddie Freeman, and AJ, the veteran, behind the plate.
Maybe if you wrote a Norton, it would start the first time.
Very nice. I didn't know you knew about Nortons. See, you know a lot, Gary. I'm telling you.
Curtis Granderson hitting .387 over the last 7 games. And Gant's first delivery is low and in for ball 1. Gant will throw about 92. He's got a curveball and what they call the Vulcan change.
Yes, it's we'll demonstrate it later for you folks. It's a fun kind of grip on a different changeup.
This is Gant's second start. He started against the Cubs last Sunday. Didn't pitch badly. 4 1/3. Gave up 2 earned runs, but he walked 4, which probably was a little bit of nerves. He's 2-0 to Granderson leading off, and he gets the inside corner, 2-1.
I remember when I was a kid watching Tom Seaver, sometimes he'd go over his head twice to kind of change it up every once in a while. I always thought that was cool.
It's almost like he needs to pick up, put down that foot, and then kind of shimmies it before he goes back into his motion.
It's really his false step, is his kick start into his windup.
Granderson cracks one toward the gap in right center field, and Curtis is off and running again. On his way to second as Markakis pulls it off the wall, and Curtis Granderson leads off the first inning with a double.
What did you say he's hitting in his first at bat, Gary?
.380.
I mean, just amazing. This year different from last year, though. He's been much more aggressive on his first time at bat, and now splits the defense. Yesterday, a home run to start the game. This time, with a beautiful line drive, a split Inciarte and Markakis.
Here's Asdrubal Cabrera, who has always had good games against the Braves. .319 lifetime against Atlanta. Granderson at second and nobody out.
Well, you're not going to see it, of course, now from the stretch, but this is the windup. Kick start, and then start again, almost like from the stretch there. I'd like to see a rotation of Jordan Walden, Gant, and Carter Capps in the bullpen with Johnny Cueto, the #1 pitcher.
I got one for you too, and it's obscure, but the Rockies a few years ago had a pitcher named Eddie House, who would leap off the rubber.
Yeah, the jumper.
Gant behind 2-0 on a second straight hitter with Cespedes waiting on deck.
You know, we
spend off the changeup.
We spend so much time looking at his front foot. Watch his back foot too, okay? Watch the back foot as he kind of moves it into position, pulsates it into position to get some rhythm. It's a really interesting windup.
Looks a little over caffeinated.
We've been called that up here too.
Yes, we have. More so when we're all here.
That's right.
Cabrera pulls one to the right side. Jace Peterson's got it. It'll be a productive out for Cabrera as Granderson moves to third. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starters. Gant's last start, was his first start in the big leagues after 7 relief outings. That was against the Cubs. And Matt Harvey, his third straight outstanding start against the Brewers.
Harvey's issue is he hasn't gotten a lot of run support. 2.7, which is third behind Julio Teheran for the Braves and Dallas Keuchel.
Well, think about it this way. The 3 games that Harvey's pitched in a row that have been really good, he won 1-0, he lost 1-0, right, and he got a no decision in a 2-1 game. It's like John Matlack is back with the Mets. Here's Cespedes, infield back, giving him a free RBI. And he takes a fastball for a strike from Gant. Cespedes over the last 8 games hitting .387, so after a brief bobble, he has come back to life as the big bat in the middle of the Mets batting order. Granderson at third and 1 man down. And Cespedes fouls it away, and it's 0-2.
Remember, he took that Wednesday day off before the Thursday scheduled day off in Miami. It gave him 2 days, and after that, it changed completely for him. What happens for the guys that play every day, as Neil Walker on deck, who had a big night last night, is occasionally they need to get healthy, and they can do it in a couple of days, and then they'll take off again.
When you say healthy, more just aches and pains.
Yes.
Gant needing a strikeout. He's averaged more than a strikeout per inning this year. And Cespedes lifts it down the line. Markakis a long run, but it goes out of play. Now time for the Lowe's home field advantage in these last 2 games, both at home. The Mets have been raking 30 hits in the last 2 games, 17 runs. Oh, 0-2 to Cespedes with Walker on deck. And he hammers one down to third, breaking for the plate Granderson. Darno's throw to first just in time to get Cespedes, but the Mets have an early run. Good base running by Granderson, running on contact. No chance for Chase Darno to throw home. Cespedes has the RBI, and the Mets lead 1-0.
It was such a great jump that Chase Darno was thinking of coming and charging this and having to play at home. But once Granderson had that great jump, there's no play on it, so that's why he backed up and made a tough play. Good arm to first base. Wanted to come in to have a play at Granderson, did not because of the break by Curtis, and gets the out at first.
Well, the Mets get a double, get him over, and get him in. 42nd RBI for Cespedes after Granderson's leadoff double. And Neil Walker bats with 2 out and nobody on. So for the 3rd straight game, the Mets have scored in the 1st inning. Walker returned to the lineup last night after missing 3 games with lower back stiffness, and all he did was double and homer. Welcoming himself back, and tonight is Free Shirt Friday, and it's the Neil Walker t-shirt on Free Shirt Friday. And has faced 4 hitters now. 3 of the 4 he's fallen behind 2-0. Not a good recipe for success. Gant is 23. Grew up in Savannah until he was about 11, then moved to Florida. He was a big Braves fan, so happy to be in an Atlanta uniform. But it was the Mets who drafted him out of high school in the 21st round in 2011. But it's with the Braves whom he's made his major league debut.
It's a good place to be from, Savannah. Oh. You and I both love it there.
Fantastic place.
Yep.
Walker hits it out to left center. Inciarte back in the gap will get there. And that retires the side, but the Mets cash a 1st inning run after Granderson's leadoff double and hand Matt Harvey a 1-0 lead. Second inning, 1-0 New York. Nick Markakis leads off for the Braves. And he hits the first pitch, backhanded by Walker. And for the second straight inning, Harvey gets the first out on a single pitch. 4 batters faced, 7 pitches thrown, and all 4 retired by Matt.
We've seen this against almost all of the pitchers except Cologne, is that they're trying to attack these young, talented Mets starters early in the count because they don't want to get to those pitches that can put them away for the strikeout. Nice play by Walker.
Well, the Mets not only have a hard-throwing staff, they have a strike-throwing staff. They've issued the fewest walks of any staff in the league, so that makes a lot of sense in terms of the way you game plan. Here's Jace Peterson. Peterson back from the minors about a week ago and swinging the bat well since he's returned.
And remember when Matt was going poorly, he would give up a lot of first or second pitch hits that would put him under the gun. You know, the whole thing for Walker on this play, it's an in-between hop. But watch how when he catches the ball, it takes the glove back a little bit. So he doesn't have those stone hands. He kind of gives with the ball so that way it'll cradle right in the webbing.
And the fastball from Harvey gets him ahead on Peterson, 1-2. Matt has been striking out fewer hitters this year, even during this hot streak, but it has served him well. Getting more quick outs, getting more balls in play. Last start against Milwaukee, he struck out 8 in 6 innings, but allowed just 2 hits over those 6.
You know what it's,
then takes the curveball, 3-2.
Gary, you know what it's called in baseball parlance? Trusting your stuff. Your stuff is better than the people that are up at bat, and you give them your good stuff, and it'll 9 times out of 10 get them out. But you have to trust it. That's 100% trusted.
1 out and nobody on. 3-2 to Peterson. It's on the inside corner, and he gets him looking for his first strikeout of the night.
Have you noticed as Matt's gone through this better streak, there's no overthrowing. There's no trying to throw the ball through a brick wall. It is precise and powerful. That's what I always think of Matt when I watch him pitch. He reminds me of Clemens in his heyday. 4-seam, power, and finesse all at the same time, and precision.
There's Chase Darno. Darno's been playing a lot lately for the Braves. Their regular shortstop Eric Ibar was out. Darno filled in at short. In fact, he's played 5 different positions for the Braves. Older brother of Travis Darno, now 29 years old, and really getting his first chance to play extensively.
The Mets don't do a very good job of having their brother on the team when the other brother comes in town.
Well, we saw the Phillies earlier this year with Tyler Goodell, and Eric was in the minors. And now we're seeing the Braves with Chase Darno, and Travis is on the disabled list. But Travis should be back in time to face the Braves next weekend in Atlanta, and so he and his brother will be able to hang out. Darno cracks one toward the left field corner. He's got the Braves' first hit. And Chase Darno pulls in at second with a 2-out double.
Well, he has been one of the hottest hitters. That's why he's playing almost every day now. Gets a fastball up in the zone, ahead in the count, quick bat. He might not have the power of his brother Travis, but he's got great speed and legs out a double. I don't know what that means for the Braves bench, but I would have to say they haven't done it a lot.
Second lowest scoring team in the league. Only the Phillies have scored fewer runs. Here's A.J. Pierzynski. At age 39, the oldest catcher in the game, had a great season last year. He had 300, but not so much this year.
Oh, nice shot. We're almost where Neil Walker's position would be.
Good change up by Harvey, and he gets the foul tip, 1-1.
I was thinking about A.J. Pierzynski and Ender Inciarte, and when you think of players like that, you say, boy, if they had a good team, they would be great ancillary players for that team, but they have to carry the load on this ball club.
Well, when the Braves first got Pierzynski last year, they figured he'd be the backup to Christian Bethancourt, but Bethancourt never really worked out. Pierzynski played all the time last year and had a great season. But then this year he's been asked to carry that same load. He's almost 40 years old.
I didn't know he was born out east. East End.
Yeah, only lived there for a couple of years, then moved to Florida. He gets the slider in on him 1-2.
Most famous Bridgehampton baseball player?
Carly Stremski.
There you go.
In fact, the Braves have 2 players in their lineup tonight who were born on Long Island. Nick Markakis was also a Long Island native.
There you go.
I think he was born in Glen Cove.
Very posh. Very nice.
He grew up in Georgia. And Pierzynski strikes out on the high fastball. So Harvey has 2 strikeouts in the inning and works around the d'Arnaud double. That has everything working early in this game. 95-mile-an-hour heat gets Pierzynski. It's 1-0 New York in the second. With a 1-0 lead, time for greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Washington Nationals red hot 9 of 11 after beating San Diego last night 8-5. Ichiro Suzuki, who has more hits than Pete Rose. Sorry, Pete. Red hot, and the Phillies have now lost 16 of 20 after their surprisingly hot beginning. Michael Conforto leads off the home second and takes a strike from John Gant. Conforto 2 for 4 with a home run last night after getting a few days off to rest, think about things, and rest his sore wrist. And he had some good swings last night. And he takes the curveball low and in, 1-1.
Well, you know, the specter was raised of if you don't start producing, you might have to go down to the 51s and reapply your craft. That will push you to better heights.
What I found very interesting about that, and you know, we talked about it a little bit on the air last week. They kind of raised the specter of it by saying, "Oh, we're not considering it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, of course, of course.
And
now,
I guess it just sent enough of a message without sending the thought that it was imminent. And you know, who knows what works. But I don't think anybody's ever questioned that Michael was going to figure it out at some point.
You know, I think what's really important for a young guy, we talked a little bit about it yesterday, is that, you know, they start to look over their shoulder. They start to think, I've got to do something out of the ordinary. I've got to hit a ball out of the ballpark tonight to stay out of the lineup. That is just the opposite of what Michael should be thinking about. Michael, when he came up and beginning of this year, he's a guy that knows the strike zone. He's a guy that can lay out bad pitches. He can hit the ball with tremendous power to the opposite field. All the things that he wasn't doing in May and June. So that's got to change. When this man starts seeing those at bats again, he'll be back in that third spot.
2-2 from Gant, and it's hooked down to first, a foul ball. Well, and what you say really stands to reason, because when you look at what Conforto did last year, half his home runs were hit to left field. But the home run is an intoxicating thing.
He's not a home run hitter yet. He will be, but he's not a home run hitter yet. He's a guy that this year he should be ringing out about 40 doubles. That's the kind of hitter he should be.
But here's the thing that's interesting to me, though. When you have a particular organizational philosophy, right? The Mets are all about the on-base percentage and the home runs. And I wonder whether some of that sometimes seeps into a player's head. He gets to the big league level and he hears, well, you know, we need to get on base and we need to hit home runs. And maybe that works into the way he approaches things subconsciously.
Yeah, impossible to answer, but a great point, Gary. I think that the one most important thing that you have to remember as a young player.
As Conforto strikes out on the changeup for the first down.
That was good. That was the Vulcan change we were talking about. A young player, you have to know what to listen to and what to discard, because the person that knows yourself best. Michael Conforto's been a great hitter his entire career. There's the Vulcan grip change. He's got to stay true to his school kind of deal, and then incorporate the stuff that's going to make him go to the next level, but not take him away from his core or his foundation of who he's always been.
There's Kelly Johnson playing third base tonight with Wilmer Flores sitting out with a bruised hand. He takes a curveball for a strike. Kelly was acquired a week ago from the Braves for the second time, and now going back against the team that dealt him away. And he hits this one out to left field. And Malik Smith back a few strides and stays with it for the second out. Smith has a lot of speed, but sometimes takes odd routes, which is why he's playing left and Ender Inciarte is playing center.
You know, he was rushed to the major leagues. The Braves know it. Anyone who watches him knows it. And you know, he's going to be a good player. He's going to aspire to be a Michael Bourne kind of player at some point. And he's learning how to play in the major leagues. That can sometimes be embarrassing at times.
And that's what happens with teams that are rebuilding. You know, you get some spare parts, some placeholders in some spots, but then you have to rush some young players in other spots as Loney fouls one back.
Well, listen, if Inciarte did not get hurt at the beginning of the year, he probably might not even see the big leagues all season long. But he did, and Inciarte got hurt, and that's where Smith came up, and he stayed in the big leagues. That says a lot about him.
And to his credit, he struggled for a while, but he's done better lately, enough for Brian Snitker to put him in the leadoff spot. 1-1 to Loney, who's hit in 5 straight games. Alex Smith, one of the players the Braves got from San Diego when they dealt Justin Upton a couple of winters ago. And Loney pops one up. D'Arnaud retreats into foul territory, and they let it drop. I think he heard footsteps with Malik Smith coming. D'Arnaud had a chance to catch that ball, but gave way, and it prolongs the turn at bat for Loney.
Well, these are the little things that happen to a team that doesn't have great talent yet. They have young people trying to play together, and they'll make simple little mistakes like this. They don't think it's a big deal, but it adds on to the pitch count, all of those things. Malik Smith should make that play with all his speed. Interesting,
because Smith was saying something, but clearly not calling for the ball from the way they discussed it afterward. Curveball, Loney misses, 2-2.
I don't want it, doesn't work on the outfield.
Yeah, but is there ever a time when you say it's yours, or you take it, or you just be quiet?
You're quiet, or you say, I've got it, I've got it.
Full count to Loney with Kevin Plawecki on deck. Well, the Braves have played a little better since Brian Snitker took over for Freddie Gonzalez. They're 11-18 under Snitker. They were 9-28 when Freddie was let go. Brian Snitker has been in the Braves organization for 40 years.
Wow.
That's pulled down to first, and a nice grab by Freeman to retire the side. Freeman takes a double away from Loney, And we go to the third with the Mets up 1-0. MLB All-Star Game ballot now at MLB.com on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Vote up to 35 times. Vote today, vote tomorrow. Vote at MLB.com/vote. It has been a very troubled first year in the National League for Eric Ibar, who was a very competent shortstop for 10 years with the Angels. And it has gone the other way for him here in Atlanta, offensively, defensively, and perhaps particularly on the injury front. Already this year, in the last few weeks, he has been on the disabled list with a foot injury. He got hit by a pitch in the ribs right after he came back from the DL. But even before that, he had to miss a game when he had a chicken bone stuck in his throat. I mean, that's when you're having a bad year.
Yes, it is. That's official. You know, the only real established good player I've ever seen as a shortstop have this kind of year. Remember Christian Guzman when he came over from Minnesota to Washington and was hitting sub 200? Guzman was a good player, solid defender, lots of triples in that dome, and he couldn't hit himself out of a paper bag in Washington.
Well, if it makes Ibar feel any better, the guy he was traded for, Andrelton Simmons, just got back from the disabled list. He was out with a thumb injury for most of the early season. The troubling thing for Ibar is they've got guys banging on the door.
Yeah.
They've got two terrific young shortstops getting ready to make their big league debuts sometime soon. Dansby Swanson, who they got from the Diamondbacks, and the 19-year-old kid Ozzie Albies. 3-2, and Ibar lays off the curveball, and Harvey issues his first walk. It's an interesting choice. 3-2 curveball to Ibar. Well, there are the top 5 prospects in the Braves organization. Aaron Blair, we've already seen. He made his debut against the Mets, and in fact, he'll face them tomorrow. Albies and Swanson, the two shortstops, and Sean Newcomb and Colby Allard, a couple of lefties.
From my sources, I've been told Albies is the guy. Swanson might be a guy that might have to change position.
Gant gets down the bunt. Loney's throw will be to first. 3-4 on the sacrifice. First career sacrifice bunt for John Gant. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Last 3 starts for Matt Harvey. Brilliant. Came into that first one with an ERA over 6. He's lowered it to 4.66, so he's down 1.5 in his ERA in those last 3 games.
Trying to pull a Mats.
There's Malik Smith, who grounded out on a bunt attempt his first time. Dragged a bunt. Tried to avoid a tag by Loney. Ran out of the baseline and was called out on the first pitch of the game.
That's a pitch I haven't seen that much from Matt. That was almost like a little cutter slider on the outside part to get strike one.
Something we saw him start to do right when things were at their worst, just trying to create something a little different.
The one thing that he's not doing yet tonight is that you've noticed in the games that you showed there, the 3 starts, 0.90 ERA. His precision with his fastball down and away from the hitters was very good. It's not so far tonight. The ball's been up.
Check swing tapper. Matt off the mound, throws out Smith as Hartbar goes over to third, 2 out. So 2 away, runner at third, and Ender Inciarte coming up. Eddie Perez, the most valuable player of the 1999 National League Championship Series against the Mets.
How did you let that happen, Gary?
You know, that year was the year of the backup catcher in the postseason. Todd Pratt hit the home run to beat the Diamondbacks in the previous series, and then Eddie Perez had an MVP series against the Mets. Ender Inciarte pops one up, and that'll come back out of play.
Eddie could really put those fingers down. Greg Maddux loved him behind the plate.
Braves did a little coaching shakeup when they changed managers. They moved Terry Pendleton into the dugout to become the bench coach, and Eddie Perez became the first base coach.
I wonder if Terry Pendleton's a long-term solution. The reason I say that, Stinker's the right guy right now, and the reason I say that, all these young kids he's seen or he's coached or he's managed. But Pendleton's been a guy lurking for quite some time.
It's interesting because all the reports I've read is that the Braves will go outside the organization after this year to get a full-time manager.
Like a celebrity manager?
Well, a Bud Black type, somebody
Bud
like
Black?
that.
Okay.
I mean, Bud was nearly the manager in Washington.
Like Dusty Baker with the Nationals. I call those guys celebrity managers.
Harvey ahead on Inciarte, 1-2. Just missed inside. In that 1999 National League Championship Series, Eddie Perez went 10 for 20 with 2 homers. Best series you ever had. Two. Drilled toward the gap in right center. Granderson racing over, and he can't get to it. A run is in. Pulling into second with a double is Inciarte, and the Braves have tied the game at 1. So Inciarte, who hit one hard his first time up, lining out to Cespedes, this time hits one beyond the reach of Granderson for a double.
Well, I was talking about that Matt's fastball has been up in the strike zone, and Inciarte jumped all over this. He's got good speed, so of course he's going to leg out a double. When you look at this inning, you know, kind of the anatomy of the inning, it's that 3-2 curveball to Ibar who's hitting below 200 that you question. You know, Matt would love to have that one back.
Now Freddie Freeman, who swung at the first pitch and flied out to left field his first time up. I was shocked the other night when Freeman hit for the cycle against the Reds to read that it was only the 7th cycle in Braves history, not Atlanta Braves history.
No.
Talking about Braves history, which goes back to 1876.
Boston.
The Mets have had more cycles than that, and they've been in the business 90 years fewer.
Only the 3rd time since they've been in Atlanta, right?
You know, Freddie's starting to hit like Freddie Freeman. Didn't have a great year last year, but he had an excuse. He had a wrist injury that really hampered him. And Matt throws a 2-0 curveball for a strike. And that makes sense. I mean, this is the one guy you fear in this batting order.
Yeah.
You look at the Braves tonight. Freeman has 12 home runs. The rest of the lineup combined has 4.
Say that again, because I think our folks at home need to hear that.
Well, brings us to our Twist of the True Fact, brought to you by Twisted Tea, the hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea. Freddie Freeman is at 12 home runs. The Braves as a team have 29 this year. That's 41.4% of their home runs, and nobody's been over 40% since Mike Schmidt. Freeman cracks this one toward the gap in left center, and that's down for an extra base hit, and the Braves will grab the lead. Inciarte in to score. Freeman with an RBI double, and Atlanta goes in front 2-1. So Freeman remains hot. Back-to-back 2-out RBI doubles for Inciarte and Freeman, and just like that, the Braves take the lead.
Well, you'll hear baseball players say trade places with him. What that means is that Inciarte with that double, they want Freeman to do the same, and he does. Splits the gap just like Inciarte. Nice hitting ball right down the middle, and he goes the other way with it. And that's when Freddie's at his best, is when he's going coast to coast, left field to right field.
So Harvey, who had gone 3 straight starts without giving up more than a run, has given up 2. And now he'll take on Nick Markakis, trying to put the brakes on this inning. And that's rolled to the right side for Walker. And that retires the side, but Inciarte and Freeman each get to Harvey for a run-scoring double, and Atlanta goes up 2-1 in the third. Saturday, June 25th and Sunday, June 26th. The original Grateful Dead members are united with an all-star cast, including John Mayer. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Dead&Company. Streaming sunshine. Apparently that's the theme of the early part of this game.
I love it. You did the open. I got to watch it for the first time, because usually I have to utter some kind of nonsense in 2 minutes, and I got to watch you, and they had an amazing rainbow prism shot while you were reading the billboards. It was beautiful.
Well, I'm just happy that that you got that period of time off, but without your insight, we had to truncate the open. It was very short. What was that they just got for Freddie Freeman? Sunglasses. So there you go. The streaming sunlight getting in Freddie's eyes.
See, he's going over to first base to see the throw from d'Arnaud, how it's going to be affected.
It's funny. I don't think we've seen that in this ballpark before. It's something they deal with in Colorado. There's Kevin Plawecki. It's got to be something just for this particular week or two, where that sun comes through the space between the two decks there, right in the first baseman's eyes.
I know from my apartment in the city, I can track all year long where the sun sets, and it just goes right across the buildings on the west side. And this time of year, for a week or so of this homestand, you're going to see this.
Well, the longest day of the year is coming up in a few days.
The worst I ever saw was Josh Lewin's whole town. That's the kind of truck that Josh used to drive as a kid, by the way. That Chevy offers truck. Rochester was as bad as it got from third base to first. And
well, you know, go ahead.
No, and I'm not kidding. Got the ground ball to the third baseman, he would bounce it to first. That's how bad the sun was for the first couple of innings.
Well, there was a ballpark in, I think it was New Britain, where they had to shut down the game for a half hour every night because the sun was in the hitter's eyes. They had to stop the game in the third or fourth inning, whatever it was, when the sun got to a certain point, and they'd have a half-hour break.
Oh boy, that'd be perfect for our TV. We could get all the billboards, all the ads in. Perfect.
Maybe an episode of Loudmouths. Milwaukee takes the changeup, and it's a full count. Matt Harvey on deck, and then Curtis Granderson here in the home third. John Gant gave up a leadoff double to Granderson. He's retired 6 in a row since then. And Plawecki draws a leadoff walk. So Harvey walked the number 8 hitter, leading off the Braves third, and now Gant walks the number 8 hitter, starting the Mets third. Sticking with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, as bizarre as John Gant's delivery is, what's maybe even stranger is the fact that apparently Gant was unaware until the last couple of years that that's actually how he threw. He was in the minor leagues in the Mets organization, actually, and his catcher started imitating him on the side. Gant said, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm throwing how you throw. Gant said, "I don't do that." That was the first time that he recognized that he had a bizarre motion. When he came over, Roger McDowell was telling me today that he actually did something somewhat similar out of the stretch as well, which the Braves had to change. He would do a double tap before he threw out of the stretch, and some umpires in the minor leagues actually told the Braves, "We're going to start calling a balk." So Gant had to learn how to go against his instinct out of the stretch as well.
Well, I would imagine if you did it out of the stretch, people would steal you blind.
Yeah.
Take a long time to get the ball to the plate. Harvey with 2 hits this year gets a nice bunt down. Gant will have to go to first with it. 1-4 on the sacrifice. Harvey has his 3rd sacrifice of the season.
Perfect form by Harvey. Look at the beautiful crouch. Bat at the top of the strike zone for you kids at home. Put it at the top of the strike zone. If it's any higher than that, you let it go. If not, you lay that bunt down. Perfect. Textbook.
So 1 out, a runner in scoring position for Granderson, who led off the first inning with a double and scored a run. Curtis, by the way, leading off the game, is now hitting .392. We'll see if he can translate that into RBI success here. That's been the troubling piece of Curtis's game this year. He's hitting .119 this season with runners in scoring position.
Different teams have different shifts. Full shift on here. Right-hander Gant against Granderson.
Fastball by Gant, and it's ahead on Granderson 0-2.
Fastball with supposed to be inside. It's got a little running life and it ends up outside. So got away with that pitch. I wouldn't be surprised if Przinsky calls it back in because they never did get that last pitch inside.
Cabrera on deck, 0-2 to Granderson, and that misses inside. John Gant, who's been on the AAA Express this year, he has been up and down between the Braves and AAA Gwinnett 5 times already. It's over the middle of June. When you have options and you're that guy at the end of the staff.
Yeah.
Fortunately for the Braves, you don't have to travel far between the big league team and AAA. And a good curveball strikes out Granderson. That's the 2nd strikeout for Gant.
Well, we've seen a good changeup to Conforto. We've seen good enough fastball from Gant, and his breaking ball could be his equalizer. We saw that the other night with Tyone for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we've seen it from Eichhoff from Philadelphia. The good overhand breaking ball has given the Mets hitters fits all season long.
So it's left to Cabrera with 2 out and the tying run at second. Cabrera hit a sharp one hopper to the right side his first time up. And a first pitch curveball and has him flailing.
Those are the pitches that are always the ones that if you're a hitter, Gary, you get upset at, because swinging at a breaking ball out of the strike zone, those are the pitches that you want to spit on first pitch.
What I wonder about a swing like that, first pitch, is that just not recognizing a pitch from a guy you haven't seen much of before, or is it just guessing and flailing?
I think it's guessing for something in and wanting to be quick.
And quickly 0-2 to Cabrera. You see what Cabrera has done when he swings the first pitch this year. Extraordinary numbers. It's amazing that the average is that high on first pitches, considering how many teams advocate working the count.
Well, that's going to change. Plus, he's out of the organization. It's come from out of the organization. They're going to start throwing him that first pitch curveball, which Gant did.
Fly ball out to center. Inciarte circles over to get it. And that retires the side. So a leadoff walk. Gant's able to work around it. And he's got a 2-1 lead as we go to the fourth at Citi Field. You could win a gas card. Just follow SNY on Twitter during the fifth inning of tonight's game for details on how to enter the SNY fifth inning sweepstakes presented by Tri-State Ford. Chase Peterson leading off the fourth inning. Took a call third strike his first time up. And he slugs one out to left center. A long run back in the gap for Cespedes near the wall, and it's off the fence. And Peterson pulls in at second base with a leadoff double. Third double for the Braves in the last four batters. And their fourth double of the night.
And both Freeman and Peterson did it the same way, going the opposite way with the fastball that has been up in the strike zone. I said it earlier. First inning, Matt was very good. The last couple of innings, that fastball's been up, and you see that beautiful swing from Peterson, who has raised his average from when he was sent down. He was 182. Now is around 250.
Well, remember, Peterson had a great first half last year and then faded the second half of the season. Wound up in the minor leagues this year, but since coming back from the minors, he's been terrific.
Pitch is supposed to be down on the knees. It's belt high. You just can't live belt high with even a team that's been struggling this year.
Well, in the last three starts combined, Matt gave up 2 extra base hits. He's already given up 4 extra base hits tonight. Here's Chase Darno, who has one of them. He doubled his first time up.
And this is where you see if your young players have baseball intelligence. You know, is Chase going to try to have a productive out, and if not an out, a base hit to the up the middle or to the right side?
Right back to Matt. He makes the snag. Throw to second too late as Peterson gets back.
Well, it's a good at bat by d'Arnaud. He gets a breaking ball away, working the ball up the middle, but Matt makes a fine play. Falls off to that right side towards first base, so that brings the ball right into play. Didn't have to throw it there, but just trying to catch the runner, Peterson, napping, which he wasn't.
Ronnie, the white shoes are throwing me.
They're throwing you off?
It's just a different look, you know. Here's Pierzynski, and he pulls one toward the hole, and that's going to get through for a base hit. Peterson being waved around third. He'll come in to score. A.J. Pierzynski with an RBI single to add to the Atlanta lead. It's now 3-1.
Because the first pitch changeup, I believe, to Pierzynski. And when you throw a changeup, the hitter is more apt to pull it, which he did. And you were in a mini shift with Walker deep, but pulled enough that he got it past Loney, past Walker, and of course out to right field. Peterson's got good speed. There's the contact by Pierzynski. The hits have been few and far between, but a big one there.
Braves now have 5 hits against Harvey. There's Eric Ibar, who walked his first time up, and he flies one out to left, easy for Conforto. And that's the second out. 9 of the 17 batters have seen 2 pitches or less. So the Braves have come up with a game plan of attacking early.
I think it's a game plan, but it's also a combination of game plan and young players in the lineup who it's very hard for them to wait and take pitches.
John Gant had to sacrifice his first time up, now looking for his first major league hit. He's had only 1 official at bat. And he chops one. Walker's going to have to come in and get it, and makes the play on Gant to end the inning. But the Braves tack on a run on Pierzynski's RBI hit, lead 3-1 in the 4th. The Mets are in a stretch where they're playing 7 of their next 9 games starting tonight against these Atlanta Braves, the team with the worst record in the National League. And if you're going to be successful in the NL East this year, you have to take care of the Braves and the Phillies. Now, the Mets played the Phillies before they began their slide. They're 3-3 against Philadelphia, 5-1 so far against Atlanta.
You know, I just looked this up, and I usually don't do this stuff, so pardon me. But when I played, the Braves and the Pirates were not very good. And my record against those two teams was 24-9. And the reason I look it up is because I'm just letting you know that in the course of your career, you've got to make sure that you take care of business against the teams that, you know, are not great at that time.
Make hay while the sun shines.
Yes.
Well, there's another way of looking at it, too. The Mets are playing, starting tonight, 7 of the next 9 against the Braves. After that, Cespedes leads off in the home fourth. The next stretch, 11 of their next 14 will be against the Nationals and the Cubs, the 2 best teams in the league.
Well, the best way to get to the All-Star break is to really, as you said before, make hay right now and then play 500 against those really good ball clubs. Last year, the Braves, and they probably will beat it this year, I believe they used 60 players to get through the 2015 season. That might be even more this year.
Neil Walker on deck, then Michael Conforto facing John Gant, who has a 3-1 lead in the fourth, looking for his first big league win. Cespedes drove in the Mets run with a first-inning groundout. Well, the Mets have won 5 of 6 from the Braves. They haven't out-hit them, but they have outscored them and outslugged them.
The home runs is the big thing. They have 88 to what? 29 for the Braves.
Cespedes strikes out. Third strikeout for Gant. Yeah, the Braves have 29 home runs. The next fewest in the National League is 54. Miami.
I don't see many pitchers just attack Cespedes with 2 strikes. They try to finesse him, and Gant went right after him and threw it by him.
Seems like a better plan with the number of breaking balls we've seen Cespedes hit out of the ballpark. Here's Neil Walker, who fly to center his first time up. Well, they're the home run numbers, and it's just as stark on the other side. The Mets have given up 52, and the Braves have given up 73.
Well, coming into this, well, I can even use this game, right? So the Mets 88 to 29 home run advantage, but they've only scored 27 more runs.
Right. Well, Terry Collins made a point of talking about the 19-hit game the Mets had night before last, how they talked before that game about going the other way more, using the shift to your advantage, hitting the ball where there are fewer fielders rather than more, and they did it for that night. But it's hard for a Leopard to change its spots, and this is a team that has been very home run oriented.
Well, I look at it this way, Gary, is that you take your shot at your strength, but once you get to 2 strikes, doesn't it make sense to try to put the ball in play, and if they're pitching you away, go against the defense and take a shot that way? I think that's what they did, especially on the first night.
Well, I think it might have helped them in that game that they had a more irregular lineup.
It's true.
You know, the Rene Riveras and the Matt Reynoldses, who had big nights that night.
It's Jacob. You see a starting pitcher, most of them are always holding a baseball, just fooling around, feeling it, trying to feel the seams, getting different grips.
2-2 to Walker, and it straightens him up, 3-2. Well, if you watch a pitcher like Gant, who has an unusual pitch and he throws that Vulcan changeup, as a pitcher, would you fool around with a baseball to see whether it's something that you can hold?
Well, they'll figure it out and say, what is he throwing? What was that pitch? Changeup. He holds it like a Vulcan grip, and then you'll fool around with it and you'll go, how does he do that? I can't hold it. Same with, I had played with a pitcher who threw a palm ball, and I could not figure out how to throw the palm ball. There's the grip right around the horseshoe. I taught Keith that last night as he takes that grip and just flips it over. It's a really cool grip.
Now, how is that different? I mean, it's different fingers, but how does it react different from a split change with using your first two fingers?
It's kind of a double circle change. I can show you right here if you put the camera on me real quick. So you get the Vulcan grip, okay? So we saw, you know,
Live long and prosper.
The whole thing, live long and prosper. You put it right on that horseshoe part of the grip, and it's like a double change grip there, and you just turn it over.
Grounded into the shift, and Peterson's there to play it. And Walker retired too. I guess my question is, what would possess a pitcher to decide to grip it that way rather than with a more conventional split?
Because you can't throw it. You know, I could never throw a circle change. I worked on it. Could never do it. Here's the grip that we were talking about, right along that horseshoe. But I could never throw a circle change. I ended up being able to throw a really good screwball because Al Jackson taught it to me, but it hurt my shoulder, so I couldn't throw that. And then once I broke my thumb and I couldn't throw the breaking ball that I had my entire life, that's when I went to the split finger, and that changed how I pitched from that day on. And it was all just practicing, and until the 30-year anniversary of the Mets, Rick Aguilera came over, gave me a hug, and said, "You know what, you changed my life teaching me that split finger." I don't even remember teaching me the split finger, but that's what you do when you're DeGrom and Matz and 30 years ago, Darling and Aguilera. You help each other work out grips that'll work for you someday.
Porto takes the curveball, a ball on a strike. Gant's given up just one hit over the first 3 2/3. A good changeup. A logical pitch, 1 2.
Well, he got him the first time on the strikeout with it, and it's such a good pitch. He's mind melding Mr. Conforto on this changeup.
Again, very reliant on that unusually held changeup. 26% is a lot. 1-2 to Conforto. Fouls off the fastball. 94 from Gant. That's where he's topped out tonight.
He's done a nice job of pitching inside. You have to give some of the credit to A.J. Pierzynski, because veteran catchers will make their pitchers pitch inside. Can they execute it? Not always. But Gant is doing it so far.
Give Gant credit too for keeping his cool.
Yeah.
Pitching in the ballpark for the organization for whom he pitched for 5 years. And the curveball misses to Conforto, 2-2. Gave him a double to Granderson to start the game, but he has settled in very nicely and has a lead to work with, and he's done well with it.
By the way, I did get your Star Trek reference. I just was a little late to the ball game.
Ibar playing on the right side, and so the shift gets Conforto. 6-3 put out, ends the inning. After 4 at Citi Field, Braves 3, Mets 1. Setting sun casting a beautiful shadow on Lady Liberty. Fifth inning brought to you by your Tri-State Ford dealers, who invite you to test drive a new Ford. You'll discover why Ford is the total package. Third time around the batting order for Matt Harvey. Alex Smith is 0 for 2. Has grounded out twice. Corners in against him. He's already tried a bunt tonight. And Matt misses with a curveball to fall behind 2-0. Harvey has walked 1. He struck out 2. Allowed 3 runs and 5 hits. Inciarte and Freeman to follow in the 5th. Rolls that fastball by Malik Smith, 2-1.
Change up 2-1 there to Malik Smith. Just down.
And he misses high for ball 4, and he puts a base stealer, Malik Smith, aboard to lead off the 5th.
When you see it overhead, the motion of Harvey, see where his feet are. He's as far to the first base side as you can get. And where he lands is that little spot about 4 feet ahead of him. Shows that he throws slightly across his body with a huge stride. He doesn't get low, though. Throws pretty straight up and down, but with a huge stride from that right side of the rubber, and he does it also in the stretch.
Another problem with the white spikes, they get dirty.
Well, that's well, you know, when I look at Matt in his uniform now, it reminds me of Keith and Gary Carter and Darryl Strawberry when they were always perpetually in the All-Star game in the 80s. They would wear white spikes for the Mets uniform that you would never see.
Well, remember when Matt was in the All-Star game, he wore those orange spikes.
That's right. That was here.
Yeah.
When it started. It took me a long time when I was traded to Oakland to wear the white spikes. It's a strange. You just look at them and you're like, really?
And a close play, and Smith just got back.
Oh, you see, James Loney said to the bench, "You want to check that?" Because Loney, since he's come here, has been as good as anyone with the snap or quick tag, but he didn't get him there. Smith to the outside part of the bag, and the tag got him on the elbow, but a little too late.
At least in Oakland, everybody was wearing the white spikes. Went great with the green and gold.
That's right.
Inciarte takes a strike as he bluffs the bunt, 0-1.
You know, in Oakland, you had the green socks, and not the green stirrups, and then you had the yellow sanitary socks underneath. It was wild.
It's a little bit like a circus.
Yeah.
But that's what Charlie Finley wanted when he picked that color scheme.
Yes, and you have an elephant on the uniform at some point.
Now let me ask you this: do the A's still have the elephant on the uniform?
I don't know. I haven't seen it lately.
Because you know, Ringling Brothers has taken the elephants out of the show, so they have to come off the uniform as well.
Well, I had an issue with it just because how my politics lie. I mean, you know.
0-2 to Inciarte, and Harvey again checks in on Smith.
Well, Malik Smith is young. He's made a lot of base running mistakes, and the Mets are trying to take advantage of that. You know, he's trying to get a great lead.
Popped up. In comes Johnson, and it falls off Plawecki. And that's the first out of the inning. So Harvey gets the first down. Now we'll take on Freddie Freeman, who gave the Braves the lead with a run-scoring double in the 3rd. Freeman now in the last 5 games, 11 hits in 20 at-bats.
This is where you have to be careful if you're Malik Smith. There's a little bit of a hole because Loney's got to hold you on. Your best hitter is up right now.
He's running, and Freeman fouls back the high fastball. So Freddie wasn't going to take a pitch to give him a chance to steal a base. When he saw the fastball, he was attacking. Smith's got 13 steals, but he's also been caught 7 times this year. The Mets, though, have been the team everybody's picked on with the running game this year. Harvey's given up 6 steals.
Well, when you're a young catcher, sometimes you really want to throw the runner out. It sometimes is a bias against what you call, because what's the easiest pitch to throw someone out? A fastball in the outside corner, but that's not how you got to think, especially a guy like Freeman. Batter first, runner second, always.
Smith's running again, and Plawecki's throw is high, and Smith stays on the bag and has his 14th stolen base of the year.
Boy, Smith can run. Breaking ball inside and down. It's almost like Plawecki's got to throw the ball right over the head of Freeman. Now, Freeman, who bent over to allow Plawecki to throw, he doesn't have to do that. He can stand up straight and make it more difficult.
Alex Smith, 2 years ago in the minor leagues, stole 88 bases, so you know he can run. Freeman takes the slider inside, 2-1.
Well, he goes so fast that he gets all through the base, trying to hold on, but then he hooks it with his foot, and that last spike kind of keeps him right on the base as Walker stays with the tag.
Everybody in baseball is doing that now, holding that tag until the runners come to a complete stop. You're going to get calls now that you just never would have gotten before replay.
Boy, that's a nice pitch by Matt. 2-1 fastball, precisely on the inside corner. Now you've got to take 2 shots to get Freeman to swing out of the strike zone. He's too hot now to try to get him out in the strike zone. Bounce something or something neck high.
2-2. And he misses high. Full count.
You're down 2 runs. A base is open. I know it's only the 5th inning, but it's not the worst thing if you give a free pass to Freeman.
Nick Markakis, whom Harvey has handled, is on deck. And Freeman goes down swinging, and that's the 2nd out. Got him with a 3-2 slider. 3rd strikeout for Harvey.
It's a slider that never broke. Freeman's waiting for this to break, and it just stayed right on the same plane, and he swung through it. Just a little spinner. Sometimes you get these good hitters out, even if you don't execute the pitch precisely.
But is that also a case of Freeman on a team that's struggling? He's the one guy, the go-to guy, maybe expanding his strike zone more than he should.
That's a great point. You know, we've heard that about Joey Votto, that he doesn't do that often enough. Maybe Freeman's doing it too much.
Nick Markakis takes a strike. It's got to be a lonely position to be in as the one guy who is the big threat in the lineup, much like Cespedes has been at times this year. Markakis has been up twice, grounded out to Walker both times. Smith at 2nd and 2 out. And Markakis takes that fastball up 1-1.
This is the big out of the game for Matt. He's got to get this out. Peterson behind Markakis is red hot since he's come back from the minor leagues. Markakis is grounded out twice to second base. Got to get this out.
Out to right field. Granderson cutting in. He won't get it. Base hit. And Smith will come around to score. And it's 4-1 Atlanta. Another 2-out RBI hit for the Braves as Markakis drives in his 37th run. And for the 2nd time tonight, a leadoff walk has come around to score on Harvey.
That's the same pitch that fooled Freeman that he swung through on the 3-2 count. This jammed Markakis. That's why Granderson didn't have a chance to get to it.
So the Braves have scored in 3 straight innings, and they now lead 4-1. And here's Jace Peterson, who doubled and scored his last time up.
It's a nice look from the first base side. The delivery from Harvey. And just slightly jammed was Markakis.
Mets will get their bullpen active now with Harvey struggling. Oh, 2 to Peterson. And he finds the inside corner for the third strike. Strikeout number 4 for Harvey, but the Braves tack on a run on Markakis' 2-out hit, and they lead 4-1 halfway through. Gant in his second major league start facing the team that traded him away has been awfully good. Matt Harvey has not been nearly up to the level that he's set in his last 3 starts. And the Braves lead 4-1 as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Kelly Johnson leads off. Kelly flying to left his first time up. And he pops this one up behind third. Darno back. Smith in. Smith loudly calls and makes the catch. And able to smile after he and Darno let one drop in between them earlier in the game.
Chase Darno sure looks like he's having fun playing the game. I got it. I got it. It's nice to see these Braves, considering the kind of season they've been through so far, playing with a good attitude. You have to give their manager a lot of credit for that.
There's James Loney, lined out his first time up. Well, you have to figure that the young guys are going to have a positive attitude. They're just happy to be in the big leagues. I think when you have a losing team, it's got to be the older guys who it really wears on.
Well, I think when you and Keith did the games in Atlanta, it was wearing on Freeman and some of the older players. And they've kind of come out of that funk and realized that, hey, got to kick it into gear and show these guys how to play correctly. That's their job. That's what you're supposed to do as a professional.
And Loney takes a pitch that he didn't think was a strike, but Mike Winters said was 1-2. And there's the upper management for the Braves. Of course, John Schuerholz built the team that won 14 straight division titles from the 90s into the 2000s. John Hart has ceded the general manager's job to John Coppolella, but those guys, they all got a lot of experience building teams.
Sure, Holtz and Hart spend a lot of time in the room, I'll tell you that. And John Hart, who I've gotten to know, is as smart as any baseball man that's ever held the position.
Antonio Bastardo up in the bullpen. Of course, Hart built the great teams in Cleveland in the 90s. Curveball misses to Loney, 2-2.
He really was the originator of getting young players under contract.
Guys like Kenny Lofton.
Yep. Carlos Baerga.
Yep. Harvey due up 4th in the inning, if it gets that far. Loney slugs one out to center, but right at Inciarte. And there are 2 out. So Gant is now retired 8 in a row. And the Mets, who were so prolific with the bats the last 2 nights, have found the going much more difficult against a kid making his 2nd big league start. John Gant is one of 5 players in the major leagues right now who were drafted and signed by the Mets, but never played for the Mets.
Well, you mentioned one guy already, right?
Well, the guy who is certainly making the most noise is Michael Fulmer, whom the Mets traded for Yoenis Cespedes. Fulmer, by retiring the Royals in the 1st inning tonight, has now gone 29 in the 3rd consecutive scoreless innings, which is a Tigers rookie record. The others who are in the big leagues right now, who were drafted and signed by the Mets but never played for them, Scott Kazmir, of course.
Well, yeah.
Drew Butera, the veteran backup catcher. And Matt Bowman, the pitcher from Princeton, who was a Rule 5 pick by the Cardinals and has been with St. Louis all year.
Is Drew Butera with Kansas City?
I think so, yeah.
So he caught the final pitch last year in the World Series for the Kansas City win?
That's right.
Strange world.
Royals will be here Tuesday night for the first time since that last pitch on November 1st. 0-2 to Plawecki, and the curveball off the plate. Ty Kelly has come out on deck to pinch hit. So if Plawecki gets on, looks like Harvey's done. Question is, will he be done anyway? That is at 71 pitches through 5. And the curveball in there, strike 3 called. Plawecki caught looking for Gant's 4th strikeout. He has set down 9 in a row. After 5, 4-1 Atlanta. Well, the Atlanta Braves coming into town on a rare 2-game winning streak, looking for their first 3-game winning streak since April. And the Braves have the upper hand early, 4-1 as we go to the 6th. And Matt Harvey is still out there pitching after his spot did not come up in the batting order. Matt's given up runs in each of the last 3 innings, and it's down in the game 4-1. Chase Darno's hit 2 balls hard tonight. Darno pulled a double into the left field corner in the 2nd, and then he lined one back to Harvey that Matt was able to snag in the 4th. A.J. Pierzynski on deck, and then Eric Ibar for the Braves in the 6th. The plan for Chase's little brother, Travis, he is scheduled to DH for Las Vegas tonight and then catch the next 2 days, and if all goes well should rejoin the Mets in time for the game against Kansas City Tuesday night. Chase strikes out. That's 5 now for Harvey, including his last 3 outs. 1 out and nobody out. Let's check in with Justine Ward in the studio for a game break brought to you by your local Honda dealers. So the Pirates play a night game in New York, go to Chicago to play a day game, and face Jake Arrieta. As Cabrera throws out Pierzynski 2 out. Did you expect anything else?
No, and they get shut out for the first time. You know, we talked about baseball's got to do something about it. Arrieta, of course, is the right-hander that shut them out in the wild card game last year to send them home.
Arrieta now 11-1 with a 1.74.
And I knew he had 3 walks. I didn't know he had them all in 1 inning.
Here's Eric Ibar, who's walked and flied out 0 for 1. Thinks about a bunt and takes a strike.
Ibar tried to bunt, and Kelly Johnson was staring at him like, really?
They were playing together till a week ago.
That's right.
Topped foul, and it's 0-2.
Oh, shit.
Sound effects are getting out of hand.
That is hilarious.
0-2 coming. And Ibar jumps back 1-2.
That sounded like a split carry. I don't think that was a strike.
Don't you hate those 7-10s?
Oh.
Especially when you think you've hit enough of the pocket and you still got a bad split.
Yeah, you do a little whining. Absolutely.
So you probably grew up playing candle pins.
Candle pins. Yeah, 3 balls.
That's too hard. That's hit sharply into right field. A base hit for Ibar. So the Braves have their 7th hit against Harvey. A 2-out single. And that'll get the pitcher Gant to the plate.
It's a little slider again. Same pitch that Markakis hit and that Freeman swung through. On the side of the baseball. Hasn't really gotten the real good break that he's had the prior 3 starts.
Gant is sacrificed and grounded out 0 for 1. Braves began the year 0-9. They then won 4 games in a row. And since then, they haven't won more than 2 in a row. Well, they won their last 2 against the Reds and going for 3 straight tonight. Chopped. Harvey off the mound and gets Gant by a couple of strides to end the inning. So Harvey gets through 6. Hasn't been a great 6 for Matt. He's down 4-1. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Let's check out tonight's Verizon trivia question. Freddie Freeman, 2013, was second in the National League with 109 RBIs. Who led the National League in RBIs in 2013?
2013. Cardinals lost to the Red Sox in the World Series. I'm always thinking of the better teams seem to have the guy who leads the league, but that's not always the case.
Not necessarily.
No.
Matt Harvey done after 6 innings. Ty Kelly will bat for him as we go to the home 6th. Kelly's first at bat since returning to the Mets. He was activated yesterday when Juan Lagares went on the disabled list, and he gained a number in his absence. He was 55 when he left. He's now 56 because Kelly Johnson had taken his number 55 in the interim, so it went from one Kelly to another. Ty is 4 for 23 in the big leagues, and he takes a curveball from John Gant for a strike.
It doesn't matter how long Gant plays for this Atlanta Braves team, he'll never be the most famous Gant.
Ronnie Gant had quite a career as a Brave.
He did.
No relation.
Good player.
I had the privilege of watching Ronnie Gant as a 21-year-old in single A ball as a second baseman.
Oh, wow.
He could hit home runs, but he wasn't a second baseman. Kelly hits one out to right center, but over comes Inciarte. And he makes the grab. If you'll remember, Gant came up as a third baseman and struggled, Ronnie Gant, and then they sent him back down to the minor leagues to learn how to play the outfield.
Well, he just was like a human muscle, wasn't he? I mean, one of the strongest guys pound for pound you ever saw.
And by the way, one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet.
You're right about that. '88, I think he finished. I have him down for 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting. Chris Sabo won that year. Mark Grace finished 2nd, and Tim Belcher 3rd.
Spuds McKenzie, Rookie of the Year. 3rd time around the batting order for Gant. Granderson has the Mets' only hit, and he pulls that one down to first, and Freeman's got it. And things are just coming easily for John Gant. He's now retired 11 in a row. John Gant was drafted by the Mets in 2011, a 21st round pick out of high school in Florida. Traded to the Braves last summer when the Mets picked up Kelly Johnson for the first time from the Braves.
You know, he has done more relieving than starting in his stints, 5 stints with the Braves. But he was a starting pitcher with the Mets in their farm system. And in fact, with the different teams he played for in the minor leagues, ended up with a 10-5 record, which is real strong.
Now is Dribble Cabrera with 2 out and nobody on. And he hooks one down the right field line, and that's a base hit for Cabrera. It'll go to the wall. And as Dribble cruises into second base with a 2-out double, just the Mets' 2nd hit of the night.
Was that first pitch swinging, Gary? Cabrera gets a changeup, that Vulcan changeup grip that he hooks down the right field line.
Cabrera, who was hitting .474 on the first pitch coming into the night, has bettered that. So Gant will not equal the performance earlier this year of Matt Whistler, who, remember, held the Mets to 1 hit over 8 innings. The only game the Braves have beaten the Mets this year. That was also against Harvey.
Well, let's see if he challenges him like he did in the last at bat, Gant to Cespedes, with fastballs once he gets ahead, or if he gets ahead.
Cespedes drove in the Mets' only run with a ground out in the first inning, and he chases the changeup, 0-1.
Well, what's interesting there is that Cespedes let 2 fastballs go by in his first 2 at bats, and it's almost like he was trying to hustle Gant into 1 more fastball to start the at bat. He was ready to go. He gets the changeup instead.
Cespedes 0 for 2 tonight, a ground out and a strikeout. And a generous strike for Gant on the outside. It's 0-2.
Well, if you are a pitcher, Gant gets that call from Mike Winters, and you have a 3-run lead with Cespedes up and a runner on base, you've got to be as aggressive as you can. Got a lucky call there.
You just go a little further outside now?
I think you have to establish one pitch into every at-bat to Cespedes. I would.
Krasinski's setting up away. And Cespedes chops one. Peterson waits on it. And throws out Cespedes to end the inning. 6 terrific innings for John Gant in his second big league start. He's up 4-1. By Mazda, driving matters. By Citi, keep an eye out this 2016 Mets season for Citi Perks at Citi Field. Learn more about Citi Perks at Mets.com/Citi. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Our next SNY telecast will be Tuesday night when the Mets take on the Royals in the first of a 2-game series. 6 o'clock the coverage Tuesday night right here on SNY. Fox tomorrow night, picks on Sunday.
Okay.
And then back on SNY Tuesday night. Antonio Bastardo takes over as we go to the 7th inning.
Well, he hasn't pitched in 6 days since Milwaukee when they gave up a couple of runs. He's given up 9 runs in his last 9 outings.
He'll face Malik Smith at the top of the batting order. Smith is 0 for 2. Walked, stole a base, scored a run his last time up, and he takes a strike from Bastardo. Ender Inciarte on deck, and then Freddie Freeman. Harvey threw 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 83 pitches for Matt. He certainly did not have the success he had enjoyed his prior 3 starts. His ERA goes up to 4.76 for the season. And he is in jeopardy of his 9th loss, which would be the most in the National League. One and one to Malik Smith. 23-year-old from Florida. Shoots one foul, 1-2. City probables for the remainder of the series. Steven Matz goes tomorrow night against Aaron Blair. And then the Mets will face the Braves ace Julio Teheran on Sunday with Jacob deGrom opposing him.
Keuchel has 9 losses. Archer 8 in the American League.
Smith strikes out on the slider. And Bastardo notches a strikeout of the first batter he faces. 1 out and nobody on.
Good breaking pitch here from Antonio. Down and away against the young left-hander. Good tilt.
So 1 out. Ender Inciarte coming up. So Ronnie, this is a red letter date in Mets history. It was on this date, June 17th, 1983, that Keith Hernandez played his first game
as a New York Met. And you've probably heard him talk about it before. And the Mets were in Montreal, and he joined the team there, and he went 2 for 4 that night against Charlie Lee in a 7-2 Mets loss. All those things we've heard from Keith before. And a drag bunt attempt, and Inciarte fouls it off. But there's another piece of the story that may not quite add up. You've probably heard Keith tell the part of the story where he says that he got to the airport in Montreal and Jay Horwitz was supposed to pick him up and didn't show up.
So Keith has maybe some revisionist history working.
Well, the Elias Sports Bureau went back and did a little checking on the contemporaneous record of that night when Keith made his debut. Drag bunt again foul. And here's what the New York Times said in their late edition the next morning after Keith's debut.
Joe Durso, maybe.
This is the way it reads. Hernandez did not accompany the Mets to Montreal. The former Cardinal missed his flight from St. Louis to New York, where he was to have made a connecting flight. So he arrived at Dorval Airport in Montreal at 6:16 p.m. Now think about that. It was a 7:30 game in Montreal. He arrives after having missed his flight at 6:16 p.m. Okay, so just hold that in your mind for a moment.
Okay.
Here is the quote from Mr. Hernandez after the game about why he missed his flight in the New York Times.
Okay.
Grounded at Walker, and he handles it and throws out Inciarte. Quote, I had trouble getting out of bed. Unquote. He's joining his new team. He could not get out of bed in order to make his flight to join the team in Montreal. So he carried his bags frantically into the locker room at Olympic Stadium at 7:02 and was out on the field 18 minutes later wearing Mets uniform number 17. So my question is, was Jay Horwitz really supposed to meet him at Dorval Airport at 6:16 p.m. for a 7:30 game?
Well, he's always put this on Jay, and I think that the problem. It's always been Jay's fault for not being at the airport. Jay, knowing Jay, he probably was at the airport at 10 in the morning.
Exactly.
To about 4 in the afternoon waiting for Keith.
Waiting for the flight he was supposed to make that he overslept.
Well, that, honestly, it sounds more like Keith now that I hear the story correctly. Here's another part to this.
Yeah.
When was he traded?
2 days earlier. Well, you have 72 hours.
What about that?
Well, you've heard this part of the story about, he was a little disconsolate. 0-2 to Freeman, and it's off the corner, 1-2.
How much? Oh, we'll get him in the booth on Tuesday.
Tuesday night, we'll hear all about it. I'm sure he's not going to challenge that 33-year-old quote.
Not the Gray Lady.
Well, Keith grounded down to first. Bastardo's got to bust over to cover and gets there too late. Bastardo took his time, and Freeman busted out of the box and beat him to the bag. Not a good look from Bastardo.
Well, those are the things you want to see from your veteran player, the hustle down to first. Boy, total tie there for me. So I think you got to stay with the play. Let's see if he gets his right foot down. Boom. That's tie for me. It's as close as it gets. And I don't think it's going to be changed or challenged.
Well, they're going to challenge, but it's going to be hard to overturn it.
Well, he didn't bust straight away, and you don't stop and slow down to touch first base. You run through the bag. That's where you're running with the fielder. And listen, I think Bastardo might have gotten him an instant maybe before Freeman got his foot on the bag, but I don't think you can tell.
Well, that's not where he lost the play. He lost it by freezing on the first 2 beats as Loney was fielding that ground.
But even freezing, he's got to bust over there and run through the bag out into right field, and that way it makes it easier. He's stopping as Freeman's going as fast as he can go. Spikes up, though.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to overturn this. Fielding Colbert and Dana DeMuth's crews are in the bunker in Chelsea.
Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters.
Bastardo is hoping they change it.
They do appear to arrive simultaneously. I mean, you might give Bastardo an eyelash.
If you had to give him the edge, you'd give it to Bastardo, but
maybe half an eyelash.
But when you catch this ball, young people at home, you don't catch it and stop to tag the bag. You run right along the first baseline. You catch it in mid-run, as fast as you can run, and you run through the bag. That way you're running as quick as the person who hit the ball is running, and you'll beat him to the bag every time.
We're going to try and take one more closer look at this if we can. So who gets there first?
I mean, I don't know how you can change it. Again, I still give maybe an eyelash to Bastardo, but the hustle of Freeman, I think, is going to get him a hit. Mike Winters, the crew chief, should have an answer for us. Well, I thought it was going to be soon. Once you put the mask underneath the arm, it usually signals a little more time.
Here we go. Maybe. Well, they confirm the safe call. So the Mets lose the challenge. Freeman has an infield hit, his second hit of the game.
Well, the hustle by Freeman got himself a base hit, and the freeze and not proper execution by Bastardo cost him the play.
So the Mets lose their challenge. Nick Markakis will bat. He's driven a run with a base hit. I have an update on the Keith Hernandez reporting to the team in Montreal story from 1983.
Did you get a text from Keith?
No, actually, this is from Dave Freed, who is protecting his buddy Keith.
By the way, he's working on a very tired time, so watch your sources.
As long as he doesn't throw his mouthpiece at me, I'm okay. So, Freed, you made the point that Keith was traded on the 15th, didn't report till the 17th. Dave is alleging that the Mets were off on the 16th. So that he was actually right on time.
Okay. All right.
Even though he missed his flight by oversleeping. According to the New York Times. The newspaper of record.
Keith's not a conspiracy theorist, but with the Gray Lady, he might have some issues.
You sure he's not a conspiracy theorist? 1-1 to Markakis. The starter misses up and in with that slider. 2-1.
I'm just happy we got Jay off the hook because he's been taking a beating now for
11 years.
Well,
yeah.
At least the 11 we've been on air here.
And now Bastardo behind 3-1.
Now the story would make more sense if Jay was at Mirabel instead of Dorval. Then it might make a little sense. But you know Jay would be there early.
Mirabel is the more distant airport.
That's right.
The one you had to go to if you missed curfew. 3-1 coming. And Markakis takes a fastball strike, 3-2. Remember, every time we'd play a series in Montreal that finished with a night game, they'd hustle everybody out of the clubhouse within 20 minutes of the last out to make it to Dorval before it shut down for the night.
What would you say to yourself all the time? How come we can't do this every single time?
Freeman gets set to run. 3-2 and 2 out. And it's inside ball 4 and the inning continues. So after Freeman beats Bastardo to the bag, Bastardo hurts himself with a walk. Hey kids, you could win a chance to join us in the booth and call a Mets game on SNY. Just go to sny.tv/kitcaster. where you can video audition online for a chance to win the SNY Kidcaster contest, presented by New York's 529 College Savings Program. So the Braves looking to expand on their 4-1 lead, of 2 out and 2 on. Jace Peterson coming up. Peterson doubled and scored a run in the 4th.
The theme has been the 2-out hit by the Braves. Eric Godell gets loosened up in the pen.
Freeman at second, Markakis at first with 2 out. Take it high. Ronnie, if I said to you that tonight a Toronto Blue Jays hit 3 home runs, who would you guess?
If I had to guess, my first would be Encarnacion because he's hot. My second would be Donaldson. It can't be Bautista because he's on the DL.
Well, it's none of those.
Okay.
Michael Saunders has hit 3 home runs for the Blue Jays tonight, and they're only in the 6th inning. Last night, Victor Martinez hit 3 home runs for the Tigers. Tonight, Michael Saunders, 3 home runs for the Blue Jays.
First Canadian to hit 3 home runs for a Canadian team.
Wow.
Come on, Dave. Put some work in over there. Jeez.
They're playing in Baltimore. You know, pretty sure that it was Toronto and Baltimore that participated in the most prolific home run game in history. The Orioles, I think, hit 10 home runs in one game.
Yeah. What was the Mets had 8 in Washington last year?
Philly.
And Philly. Sorry, Philly.
That was the game David Wright came back. By the way, Toronto took 13-2 in that game in the 6th. 2-1 to Peterson, and it's grounded to the right side, and Walker slides over to get it, and that retires the side. So Bastardo creates some trouble for himself, but gets out of it. 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field, 4-1 Atlanta. But have not touched John Gant since. There's that play at first base from the last inning that was not overturned.
The umpire called Freeman safe was the call, so they didn't overturn it. And there's the the numbers of the challenges this year.
This shocks me, Ronnie.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the beginning of replay. Calls have been overturned less than 50% of the time. As Neil Walker leads off in the home 7th. Remember that before teams challenge a call, they have their video guys looking at the replays. So you would think that most of the time when they challenge, they already know they're right. And that it would be more like 70 or 80% of the calls would be overturned.
I don't think they understand what's going on. And I know all the kids and young men that are down there and ladies and women down there that are trying to figure this stuff out. They think this is a right or wrong answer. That's not how it works. How it works is that if the umpire calls it a certain way, then you've got to make sure that you let the bench know that it's clear and compelling to change it, because if it is not going to be changed. And I think that's where they're losing, their edge in this process.
Or could it be a situation, especially like this last one, where it's late in the game, you haven't used your challenge, and you figure, well, why not? Let's give it a shot.
I think that's bad reasoning for any team, because you never know when that play is going to come. Now, that was with 2 outs, right?
Except that for the 7th inning on, you can ask for the crew chief review and get essentially a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th bite at the apple.
And that's wrong too.
I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. The manager should be taken out of it. Just let them fix the bad calls if that's what they want to do. Walker punches one out to left, and Smith gets over. 1 out. And John Gant looking for his first big league win, and he's been unusual and he's been sharp.
He has a double leg kick, a field for the mound, first leg kick, second leg kick. So after the first leg kick, it's pretty standard motion for John Gant. He just has to kind of kick start it first.
Yeah, to me, the oddest part is the little right jelly leg after the first step.
He's just trying to get a little tempo.
Here's Conforto. Starts him off with a changeup for a strike.
I wish we had some old tape of Seaver and others. That's the step. Now watch the right foot. Just feeling for that rubber to get it nice and comfortable. 1, 2, 3, go. Seaver, when he would go over his head, is when he would look down, because he always said you can't concentrate on one spot too long. So he'd pick up the spot. When he went over his head, he'd look down to take his eyes off the spot and pick it up again. But when he would feel for the mound with his foot, he would tap it once or twice just to get that kind of rhythm before you throw the pitch.
And Conforto goes down on the fastball. 5 strikeouts now for Gant. That's a new high for him.
Again, his ability to pitch inside has been very good, and he has more on that fastball, I believe, than coming in we thought. Push off and the drag, and that's why you have that kind of protective rubberized surface on your front of the shoe.
There's Kelly Johnson, has been up twice, fly to left both times against his old team. Facing the guy he was traded for last summer.
That's right.
This year, Kelly was traded for Akil Morris, who is now in the Braves farm system. The Braves have another former Met reliever in their bullpen, Dario Alvarez, whom they got on waivers a couple of weeks ago, and he is one of the 3 lefties available in that bullpen for Brian Snitker. They're carrying an 8-man bullpen. And again, for a rare time tonight, behind on the count. There's your team Mets box score. Only 2 hits tonight. Double from Granderson in the first, double from Cabrera in the 6th, and that's been it.
So the Mets, for Johnson twice and Uribe, gave the Braves 3 pitchers.
And there's ball 4, and so it's a 2-out walk to Johnson. Only the 2nd walk given up by Gant. Let's see how much rope he gets at 104 pitches. That may be it. And Brian Snitker is on his way out to the mound. So it looks like Gant is done after 6 2/3 outstanding innings. So the former Met farmhand pitching at Citi Field holds the Mets at bay. That's the call to the bullpen. It's brought to you by Verizon. Year, all sorts of bad things happen. Sometimes when you're trying to get out of the bullpen and come into the game, you just can't even open the door.
By the way, why is the pitcher opening the door? Why isn't someone else have the door open ready for him to come in the game? That's not his job.
Need a sign there. Push, pull, give somebody some guidance.
Well, Chris Withrow, last time we saw him was with the Dodgers. He was traded over in a 6-player trade. Spent the whole season on the DL last year with right elbow surgery. Straight over the top fastball, good overhand hook.
One former Dodger facing another. James Loney up against Withrow. Loney's 0 for 2 tonight. So John Gant went 6 2/3, allowed 2 hits and 2 walks, struck out 5, and he's in line for his first big league win if the bullpen can get him 7 outs. That'll be an awfully satisfying performance for Gant against the team that traded him last summer. And Withrow missing badly with his first 2 pitches.
Well, after elbow surgery, Withrow throwing a little different than he did before. That elbow's a little lower than it was prior to surgery.
His average fastball velocity 2 years ago was 95. This year it's 93.
Yeah.
So still figuring it out. Loney just got a piece, 2-1. Kevin Plawecki would be next. That's offense banged out 30 hits over the last 2 nights, but only 2 hits so far tonight.
A little horseplay at first base as Johnson tries to take his lead. Ex-teammate a couple of times. Freddie Freeman's got a hold of him.
It's the world according to Freddie. 2-2 to Loney, and it's up and away, a full count. Withrow's been walking a lot of hitters. 9 walks in 15 2/3 innings. Johnson gets set to run. 3-2, 2 out. And Loney whacks one the other way. Smith will have to play it on a hop. Johnson stops at second. And Loney has an opposite field hit. And the Mets have 2 on with 2 out.
Well, nice hitting by James. And you mentioned it before, 2 nights ago. Started with the Mets hitting the ball the other way. And Loney takes a single on the 3-2 pitch.
So the Mets get the tying run to the plate here in the 7th. Johnson at second, Loney at first with 2 out. Kevin Plawecki the batter. Plawecki has walked and taken a call, 3rd strike, 0 for 1. Withrow struggling.
Yeah, just getting under that ball. His, like I said before, arm surgeon. You don't know how he's recovered from that, but he used to be straight over the top. Now he's kind of underneath that baseball.
Alejandro De Azu with hitting coach Kevin Long getting set to pinch hit. If Plawecki can keep it going. And Kevin fouls it off. A little cutter from Withrow, 1-1. Nobody knows better than Kevin Plawecki how important this weekend is to him.
Yeah.
With Travis d'Arnaud due back from the disabled list on Tuesday. And with Rene Rivera having done as well as he has defensively. Two-1 to Kevin. And the sinker misses, and now it's 3-1. So Plawecki in prime real estate here.
Good job by Plawecki laying off that ball down and in. Now gives himself a chance to really put a charge into one.
De Azu waiting on deck. 3-1 coming. And Plawecki swings through the fastball, 3-2.
Well, got a pitch to hit just a little up, Gary. A little more carry in this ball, about letter high. Throws it by Plawecki.
So now the runners will take off. Johnson at second, Loney at first will be on their way. Second straight full count for Withrow, his first 2 batters. And Plawecki fouls that one off.
A.J. Brzezinski lost part of his equipment. There it is.
Was that a shoulder?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's the little piece on his shoulder now. Yep.
So what are we thinking? That's held on by Velcro?
Yeah.
Okay.
That way you have the protection, but you can still get your arm up to throw.
R&D.
Big spot for Plawecki. Mets down by 3 in the 7th. Tying run at the plate. Runners get set to go. 3-2. Outside, and the bases are loaded. Nice at bat for Plawecki. And now the tying runs are on base.
Well, Brian Snitker, the manager, made an interesting choice. With James Loney coming up, he decided to bring in Withrow to face him, not the left-hander he had warming up. And Withrow's let him down so far.
Well, he's got the left-hand hitter announced into the game. And with the lefty up, looks like he'll make a change. Now, the Mets have right-hand hitting on the bench. They've got Matt Reynolds. They've got Wilmer Flores, who we think is available as well. And you must certainly anticipate that one of them will bat for De Azu when Snitker brings the lefty in. And there's Wilmer with the helmet on.
So
So we'll see how the Braves handle opening the door. Oh, they've already preempted it. Door open, ready to go. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Comes into a bases loaded mess.
I think the best number for the Braves is that the inherited runner's stranded. He's got 3 of them right here.
Wilmer Flores will bat for Alejandro De Aza, who was announced as the pinch hitter. Johnson, Loney, and Plawecki the base runners with 2 out. Flores left last night's game after being hit on the left hand by a pitch, but good to go as a pinch hitter tonight. Tying runs aboard with 2 down. And Wilmer attacks the first one and pops it foul. Coming back, Pierzynski, and he runs out of room just barely. Wilmer has been hot with the bat. Had just 1 plate appearance last night, got hit by the pitch. He stayed in the game defensively and made a play, but then he went down in the cage after that half inning was over, couldn't grip the bat. So they took him out. They had x-rays. The x-rays were negative, and Wilmer's right back in there now and plans to start tomorrow night. Wilmer's 1 for 7 as a pinch hitter this year. And he takes a fastball strike from Cervenka, and it's 0-2.
I think that little cutting fastball there in the outside part that he gets the call from Winters. See Pierzynski jam that glove down back in the strike zone.
If you're going to jerk the ball like that as a catcher, you should never get the call.
I agree.
But Mike Winters gave it to him, and now Flores finds himself in a 0-2 hole. And Wilmer goes down swinging to end the inning. So on 3 pitches, Cervenka takes care of Flores, and the Mets leave him loaded in the bottom of the 7th. Cervenka picks up for Withrow, and John Gant is very happy. Well, the Braves in town to play the Mets. Mets have beaten the Braves 5 of 6 this year, but it's not gone well for Terry Collins' crew tonight. John Gant in his second big league start, terrific. Matt Harvey, after putting together 3 straight outstanding starts, not so terrific tonight. We go to the 8th with the Braves up 4-1. And Eric Goodell will come on to pitch for New York.
Well, he pitched 3 days ago against the Pirates, a clean inning, missed 3 months last year with a strained right elbow.
Chase Darno leads off in the 8th inning and takes high. So this is the mismatched brother pair in the National League East.
There you go.
A Goodell against a Darno. Darno with a double in 3 trips tonight. And Goodell falls behind him 2-0. A.J. Pierzynski on deck, then Eric Ibar for the Braves in the 8th. Atlanta 4 runs and 8 hits. The Mets 1 run and 3 hits. Goodell's 3rd outing since being recalled from Las Vegas. And he can't get it down, and it's 3-0. Matt Harvey went 6 innings, allowed 4 runs, 7 hits. Antonio Bastardo hurt himself slow covering first base, had to throw a lot of extra pitches, but was able to get out of the 7th inning without allowing a run. And Darno takes a strike.
Just wanted to show you guys the infield defense. This is usually what it was like in 1888. Second baseman slightly to pull everyone else in their natural position.
And that's too high, ball 4, and Darno draws a leadoff walk. 3rd leadoff walk issued by Met pitchers tonight. That doesn't happen often. Let's check in with the studio. Justine Ward has a game break brought to you by the New York State Smokers Quit Line. .521 when we were growing up was an iconic number.
That's right.
Here's A.J. Pierzynski with a runner aboard. By the way, we've gotten confirmation of what you surmised earlier. Michael Saunders is the first Canadian-born player to hit 3 home runs in a game for a Canadian Major League team.
That's pretty cool.
And he should get a chance at a 4th. Should have another at bat. There goes the runner. It's hit on the ground sharply. Walker able to smother it and throws out Pierzynski. Nice play by Walker. Darno moves to 2nd. Hit and run. What's that?
Almost got by Walker too. That was a fine play. Playing a little to pull. Pierzynski hit that right on the nose, and the diving stop for the out. The only other person I was thinking for the 3 home runs, of course, was Larry Walker for the Montreal Expos in the day. Seeing these middle infielders, just they don't cover tons and tons and tons of ground, but they're so sure-handed.
Here's Eric Ibar. Ibar has walked and singled, scored a run tonight, 1 for 2. Darno at 2nd and 1 out. And that's lined into center field. A base hit for Ibar. Darno is going to be held at 3rd, but Cespedes bobbles it. Now he breaks for the plate, and he will score. The 3rd base coach, Bo Porter, had stopped Darno at 3rd base. Cespedes bobbled it and then was slow going after it. And so Darno broke for the plate and scores on the air. And it's 5-1 Atlanta.
Well, we came into this game thinking that the Braves had played sloppy all year, and that's why they ended up with their record. But Mets have played pretty sloppy. Now, watch what happens with Darno. Bo Porter, the 3rd base coach, stops him. But what you have to do as a runner is make a little bit of a turn and stay on your coach, because if he does drop it, you can still go. You know what happens to a lot of runners in this case is that they hear the crowd. And when the crowd moans and groans, they know something wrong has happened in center field or in the outfield.
Now Jeff Francoeur is the pinch hitter. Francoeur, the former Met, having himself a nice year with the Braves, hitting .277. Back with a team with whom he began his career so spectacularly before things started to go the other way.
Well, there's not many people that I put in their nickname when they come in the pinch hit, but I always put his in, Frenchie.
Seems only right. There are the career numbers for Francoeur, who in his second full major league season drove in 105 runs. Like superstardom was awaiting, but never quite worked out that way. And how about this, sort of indirectly? Francoeur played in Philly last year. Eric Goodell's brother basically has Francoeur's job from last year.
That's right.
Connor Goodell with the Phillies, that right-handed bat in the outfield. 1-2 to Francoeur.
Jeff Francoeur is a very aggressive personality. It's Jerry Blevins pitching last night's game. Very aggressive personality, very aggressive at the plate. Sometimes it works against him.
Goodell consistently up out of the strike zone. Two coming, and the curveball, that one got a large chunk of Kevin Plawecki.
Hanging curveball on the inside part here. Lucky to get that one back, but fouled off right in the middle of the mask of Plawecki.
And the home plate umpire Mike Winters will give him a moment. Meanwhile, we mentioned Michael Fulmer earlier, the former Met farmhand, and his scoreless streak. It's up to 32 1/3 now. It's now the longest streak for a rookie pitcher since Fernando Valenzuela in his great rookie year of 1981. Fulmer has been everything the Tigers had hoped. And yet the Mets would still make that trade in a heartbeat.
That's right. Was that all of 81? Because remember when when Fernando came up in 80, he didn't give up any runs in 1980 at all. So we wonder if it covered 80 and 81 or just 81.
Oh no.
Yeah.
3-2. Ibar runs and Frenchie pops one up, and Granderson comes into shallow right and puts it away for the second out, and Ibar back to first. So 2 out. Now the Verizon trivia question we asked: who led the National League in RBIs in 2013?
I'm going to guess Matt Carpenter. I'm going to get a gong here.
Somewhere, somehow, somebody in our truck found a sound effects record.
Exactly.
And they are wearing it out.
K-Tel in there.
Let's make a pitching change. Jerry Blevins will come in to face the left-hand hitter. 5-1 Atlanta in the 8th. We'll be right back. Jerry Blevins comes in to try and get one out here in the 8th.
Faced the lefty last night, got an out on a line drive to right field.
It was against Gregory Polanco. Here he comes in to face Malik Smith, who fouls off the first pitch fastball. Smith is 0 for 3 in a walk tonight, stole a base and scored a run in the 5th inning.
I mentioned before you were talking about Michael Saunders that Jose Bautista went on the DL.
Right.
Who do they bring up for that Toronto team?
I don't know.
I thought you told me earlier that Daryl Siciliani.
Oh, that's right. The ex-Met. There's a curveball for a strike, and it's 0-2. Sorry, you caught me napping there. It felt like Keith. Ibar at first and 2 out. Blevins checks in on him. By the way, Saunders has 8 RBIs in that game with the 3 home runs. Did not homer in his at bat in the 8th with a chance for 4. Curveball hit right at Walker. And he throws out Smith to end the inning. So Blevins gets his man, but an unearned run for the Braves makes it 5-1 going to the bottom of the 8th. New York Jets are looking to help local leagues in need with grants, equipment donations, clinics, and special Jets experiences. Does your league need assistance? Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Mets have not done much tonight. They're down 5-1 as they go to the bottom of the 8th. And the veteran sinker baller Jim Johnson comes in for the Braves.
He's been scoreless upon in his last 4 outings. Jim Johnson, 2012, 2013, 101 saves for the Baltimore Orioles.
Curtis Granderson has one of the Mets' 3 hits tonight. That came leading off the first inning, and he scored the only Met run. Looks like it might be an easy night for the Mets, but they haven't done anything since. They were held in check by John Gant, the former Met farmhand, went 6 2/3, allowed a run on 2 hits. Mets loaded the bases against the Braves bullpen in the 7th, but couldn't push a run home. One and 2 to Granderson with Cabrera and Cespedes to follow as the Mets look for a little late life against the Braves bullpen. The Braves have a pretty good closer in Arodys Vizcaíno. He's done a nice job this year in limited chances with the Braves struggling as badly as they have. 2-2 coming, and Granderson takes, well, a ball somewhere. 3-2. Three-two coming, and Granderson lines one into right for a base hit. So Curtis continues hot. His second hit in this game, and his 14th hit in the last 8 games.
Well, he just gets a two-seamer down the middle. Johnson knew with a 4-run lead he's got to challenge Granderson. Gives up a base hit. Look at Granderson from behind. You can see the great torque he gets. Almost a full rotation around his core. That's where he gets the power.
So the Mets have their 4th hit. Here's Cabrera, who had a double his last time up, and takes a knee-high strike. Cabrera 2 for 9 in his career against Jim Johnson. And the breaking ball hit right back to the mound. Ibar with the turn for the 1-6-3 double play. 2 out and nobody on.
You know, Ibar was playing right up the middle, so that became an easy play for him. He just had to park it at second base. Johnson, when he got it in the one hopper, threw a seed back to him that sunk a little bit there at the end, but double play for the Braves. Yeah. Had his knee on the bag, but made sure with stepping on top of the bag. See the knee? No, the knee misses it. That's why he had to step on it and push off.
Knew he had plenty of time. Made the double play look easy. And now you went to Cespedes. He's 0 for 3. Drove in a run to the ground down in the first inning. Committed an error in the last half inning that produced an unearned run. So it's been a rough night for Cespedes. Takes a fastball low and in, 2-0. Ronnie mentioned Jim Johnson's success in Baltimore. The last 3 years, though, have been star-crossed. From Oakland to Detroit to Atlanta to the Dodgers, back to the Braves this year.
He was primarily with Baltimore. He had incredible sink on his fastball, and he's lost it. And now he's become more of a four-seam guy with a good big curveball.
And he finds the corner to Cespedes, who's not very happy about Mike Winter's strike zone. And now it's 2-2. Neil Walker would be next. A sluggish night for the Mets all the way around. That's hit hard, just foul. Darno was playing the line. Nice grab by the ball boy on that scorcher. Little tapper, tough play for Darno, and he can let it roll, and it settles in the grass for an infield hit. He had no chance to throw him out anyway. So Cespedes rolls one right on the greenery.
We've seen this happen a couple of times here at Citi Field. The ball, when it gets on the grass, is not going to go foul. It's so true. There used to be a day years ago, when the fields didn't drain as well, they were more cone-shaped. Couldn't really see it with the eye, but the ball would run off the lines to get drainage when it would rain during games, but not anymore.
And a crown on the field.
Yeah.
Now the rainwater sinks right down. There's no need for that. So the Mets have their 5th hit, a 2-out base runner for Walker, who's 0 for 3 tonight. And he takes the curveball inside. Walker's had 2 career at-bats against Jim Johnson, and he has hits in both of them. Johnson ready, Walker not.
I like the blue cap of the Braves uniform.
Don't love the blue jerseys, though.
No, whenever I see these kind of jerseys, I know the Mets wear them also. To me, it looks like a practice jersey, not a road gray.
Walker smacks one into right center. That's down for a base hit. Cespedes stops at second. So the Mets have 3 hits in the inning. And now 2 on and 2 out for Conforto. Double play is looming large right now.
Well, another one very much like the Markakis hit. Not hit all that good. So it drops in front of Markakis, who's playing deep in right field. A little off the end of the bat from Walker. A little surprised here that they don't have a left-hander ready, just because of the numbers. Well, looks like they do have a left-hander ready, but the numbers for Conforto against left-handers are just not good. And a 3-run bomb here puts the Mets back in the game.
Dario Alvarez, the former Met, up in the bullpen for the Braves. 2 on and 2 out, and Conforto fouls away the fastball. Michael's 0 for 3 tonight with a couple of strikeouts after a productive night last night. Cespedes at second, Walker at first. And Conforto takes the curveball down, 1-1. Johnson over 20 pitches for the inning now. Give up a leadoff hit to Granderson. It was a race in a double play. Cespedes an infield hit, and Walker followed with a base hit. It's left them loaded in the 7th. They've got 2 men on in the 8th. And Conforto tries to lay off, but he went around. 1-2. Mike McClinsky with the call down at third.
It's the right call. He went around. I know the crowd doesn't agree with it. Tried to hold it back later to make it appear that he didn't, but was fooled by that sinker from Johnson.
So now Conforto down in the count, 1-2. 3 infielders on the right side against him. He takes the fastball inside, 2-2.
So it's the second time that manager Brian Snitker has not brought in the left-hander. He didn't bring in Cervenka to face Loney, brought Cervenka in later to get Wilmer Flores out, and now not bringing Alvarez in and letting Johnson pitch to Conforto.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Conforto, and he goes down swinging to end the inning. So Johnson gives up 3 hits in that 8th, but the Mets squander the chance. Still 5-1 Atlanta going to the 9th. All right, guys, we'll see you in a little bit. Jerry Blevins will stay on to pitch the 9th inning. Ender Inciarte leads off for Atlanta and hits a broken back grounder toward the middle and a base hit to start the top of the 9th. Takes a hard turn and holds. So Blevins, who got the final out of the 8th, gives up a first pitch base hit to Inciarte, his second hit of the night.
Well, jammed just a bit, but Walker was shaded to pull and couldn't get to that ball up the middle. Little start for the Braves.
And now Freddie Freeman will come to bat with a man on. That's a put on the shift against Freeman. They'll move Johnson, the third baseman, over to the hole on the right side in between Loney and Cabrera. To the left side, that's Cabrera with the off-balance throw, and he's safe. And Freeman has his second infield hit of the night. Last time he beat Bastarda to the bag. This time a terrific effort by Cabrera, but Freeman, going against the shift, gets himself a hit.
Well, there's nothing you can do, Cabrera, in this kind of shift. He's throwing across his body from 100 feet. No chance to get anything on this throw. And would you ever think that Freddie Freeman would have 2 infield hits in a game?
Oh, when you're hot.
Yeah.
Which Freeman all of a sudden is. So the 2 infield hits and a double tonight for Freeman, who is now 13 for 23 over the last 5 games, making a very quick rise. Inciarte and Freeman aboard with nobody out. Nick Markakis, the batter. Markakis has singled and walked tonight. He's driven in a run. Before tonight, Freddie Freeman had 2 infield singles this year, and now he has 2 in back-to-back at bats.
Fulmer's streak finally ends, Gary. Gives up a solo home run to Salvador Perez. 33 1/3 for the young guy.
So that has the Royals up 1-0 on the Tigers. Royals began the day a half game behind the Indians, and the Indians just won on a walk-off home run by Carlos Santana in the bottom of the 9th to beat the White Sox 3-2. So Cleveland will stay in first place for another day.
Salvador Perez has hit some big home runs in the last couple days.
He has indeed. Do you have any idea who's pitching for the Royals in those 2 games here?
I don't.
I think it might be Danny Duffy.
Chris Young might have the Wednesday game.
Curveball misses to Markakis, 1-2. Next we'll have Syndergaard in the opening game of that series Tuesday night. And of course, that's always fascinating when Noah goes back up against the Royals.
And Escobar probably, well, maybe leading off.
Or maybe Whit Merrifield.
Yeah.
The star of the moment for the Royals. Breaking ball down. Merrifield, I think, had the game-winning hit in the College World Series for South Carolina.
Yes, he did.
And now, with all the injuries, he and Chesler Cuthbert have become key components for the Royals.
Injuries, like you said, present opportunities, but Alex Gordon just started his rehab process today.
Two to Markakis, and the curveball misses badly, 3-2. Of course, the Royals also now without Omar Infante, whom they designated for assignment with a lot of money left on his contract, and that opened up the spot for Merrifield to be playing every day. So they're a little different than the team we saw back in April, with Moustakas out for the year. Markakis, an entirely different player than he was back in his Baltimore days. Not nearly the home run threat he once was. And you know what? When you think about David Wright and the surgery he's about to go through, I think it's instructive that Markakis had the same surgery, that herniated disc fusion surgery, 2 winters ago.
And he had the removal and fusion. Wow.
Now Markakis with the Orioles hit a home run every 38 at bats. Since the surgery as a Brave, a home run every 214 at bats. So he's a very different player now than he was before that neck surgery. 3-2. That's it out to center field. Chasing Cespedes back, but he got it lined up. And he makes the catch. Inciarte tags and moves over to third. So a productive out from Markakis. And now the Braves have runners at the corners with one out.
Not the same player, but still a productive player. That would be something you'd love to be able to say about David someday.
Yep. There's Jace Peterson, who's 1 for 4. Doubled and scored a run back in the 4th. Mets led 1-0. The Braves scored 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 8th. And the Mets have had no answer. Atlanta trying to win their 3rd straight game, which for a team that's 20-46 seems like quite a milestone. Levin's really struggling throwing his curveball.
Looks a little flatter than we usually see it. Back-to-back days for Jerry.
And a drag bunt attempt by Peterson.
That was the old safety squeeze, 1st and 3rd. So if he lays down a bunt where Inciarte has got decent speed, reads is a ball to come home on, he will. So he'll read this. As soon as he sees him square, where does the ball go? He was coming. Usually you read it first to see if the pitcher or first baseman have to go a ways to get it, which opens up home plate for you.
That curveball bends in for a strike, 1-2. Well, the Blue Jays settled for only 5 home runs tonight.
That's it.
Including the 3 home run, 8 RBI performance by Michael Saunders. They beat Baltimore 13-3, which means the Blue Jays are now just 1 game out of first place in the AL East. They have really been on a good stretch. Strike 3 called. Peterson caught looking. And that's the 2nd out.
Well, after a good breaking ball, Jerry Blevins comes back with the fastball inside, framed nicely by Kevin Plawecki, and I think it just surprised Peterson, who was probably thinking he was going to get another breaking ball.
So 2 out. With runners at the corners, Terry Collins will bring in a right-hander with Chase Darno coming up. And Hansel Robles will come in. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Counsel Robles comes in to get an out here in the ninth.
Well, he said it about Bastardo. He hasn't pitched in 6 days either. Last time in Milwaukee, 2 innings, a hit, no runs, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts.
Comes in to face Chase Darno, who has doubled and walked tonight. Runners at the corners with 2 out. And Darno takes a slider for a strike. So the Mets using their 5th pitcher of the night after Matt Harvey started and went 6, allowed 4 runs and 7 hits. Inciarte at third, Freeman at first with 2 out. Robles coming off his fly ball attempt last night. Freeman takes off and the Mets let him go. And Freddie Freeman has a stolen base, a walkover, his 3rd of the year.
Well, this is something that the Mets have done all season long. They keep their infielders in position and they let the runners take second base. I don't understand it, but it's their way of playing defense in this situation. You know, base hit here and Don Meredith starts singing.
You mean turn out the lights? I'm not even sure how the tune is supposed to go because you know, all those years as a kid listening to Don Meredith sing that song, I'm not quite sure that the notes are quite what he put out there.
It doesn't matter though, right? His version is the version, and you would, if you didn't have a great game, you rooted for a blowout.
Robles behind 3-1 with Pierzynski on deck. And Darno draws a walk and the bases are loaded. It's 5 walks for Met pitchers tonight.
It's after they had a string of what, 19 innings without a walk.
21 before Harvey gave up the first one of the night. So a chance for Pierzynski to put on the crushing blow. Inciarte at third, Freeman at second, Darno at first with 2 out. Pierzynski 1 for 4, drove in a run with a base hit back in the 4th. These have not been easy times for Hansel Robles. And Pierzynski grounds one down to Loney. Robles gets over to cover, and that retires the side. We go to the bottom of the 9th at Citi Field. Mets with a lot of ground to make up. They're down 5-1. Sports Night. DeBrickashaw Ferguson joins the gang in the studio. The Knicks, the golf, Geico Sports Night. No mention of baseball.
That's all right.
Probably just as well the way things have gone for the Mets tonight. Down 5-1 to the Braves going to the bottom of the ninth. And a Rosie's Vizcaino in a non-save situation will come on and try and finish it up for the Braves.
You know, he's been pretty good for this team since he started being their closer. 16 of his 19 save opportunities. That's 84% since last season. And his strikeout rate has been outstanding this year.
Very hard thrower with a good curveball. Kelly Johnson leads off against him and takes the fastball outside. Johnson 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. James Loney and Kevin Plawecki to follow. The Braves 5 runs, 11 hits. The Mets 1 run and 6 hits. And Kelly hits one in the air to center, chasing Inciarte back a few strides, and he runs it down for the first out. Vizcaino, who started out in the Braves organization, or actually started in the Yankee organization, then came to the big leagues with the Braves.
Yeah.
Went to the Cubs and then came back to the Braves in the trade for Tommy La Stella 2 winters ago.
He's been around a long time, but now getting his first real opportunity to close.
Still only 25 years old. Now James Loney, who's 1 for 3 tonight, has hit the ball hard a couple of times. And they persist in playing the shift against Loney despite all the opposite field hits he keeps piling up.
I'm so happy. It's like in this National League, I guess they haven't got the reports over yet.
And they work him away.
Yeah, right.
1-1. Well, the Braves are keeping their bullpen busy, which is interesting with their closer in the game. Curveball misses to Loney, 2-1. Kevin Plawecki on deck, and the pitcher's spot behind him. Matt Reynolds has a bat in his hands. 3-1 to Loney, and he walked him. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Loney on base for the second time. And now Plawecki, who had a nice turn at bat in the 7th with a couple of men on. He drew a walk to load the bases. Mets were unable to score in that inning. In fact, Plawecki's walked twice tonight. Otherwise 0 for 1. Vizcaino trying to get the final 2 outs, trying to secure the first big league victory for John Gant, the 23-year-old who was making his second big league start tonight and pitched very well against his old organization. Plawecki takes a letter high strike.
Second time in this homestand that you might be giving a youngster his first victory, right?
Jamison Tyone came with a lot more hype than John Gant, but Gant's situation a little more emotionally based, facing the organization that traded him away. Loney at first, not being held on. 1-1 to Plawecki, and a fastball strike, and Vizcaino ahead 1-2.
I watch Vizcaino. He reminds me a little bit of Neftali Feliz, the way he delivers the baseball. Good long arm action, 95 plus.
One, two, and the curveball off the plate. 2-2. It's been 53 games since the Braves had a 3-game winning streak.
53?
53. That's, basically a third of a season without winning 3 in a row. But they're 2 outs away from it tonight. Full count to Plawecki. Matt Reynolds out on deck to pinch hit. Behind him, Curtis Granderson. So the Mets trying to gather some base runners here and get somebody to the plate who can get the ball out of the ballpark. Three-two coming, and Plawecki grounds one to short. Ibar gets the force at second. The relay by Peterson not in time. And are they going to call the double play? They are, and the ball game is over. They call interference on Loney. It's a double play, and the ball game is over. So on the new slide rule at second base, Loney is called for interference, and that means Plawecki is called out as well.
So he slides past the base. He tried to grab his right knee, and the way it's called now, watch his hand try to grab the knee and put his elbow in the groin area.
And you know what? That's not even the new slide rule. That's the old rule.
That's right.
You can't do that.
Yeah. That was as wrong can be. Terry might be arguing that he went past the base, but that was just improper play there by Loney.
I mean, that had really nothing to do with the new slide rule. He went in straight. He slid early. He just put his elbow and forearm up toward the groin of Jace Peterson.
There used to be a time where you could kind of slide and pop up and kind of roll a guy. That was a long time ago. Those days are over.
Well, what Terry, I'm sure, wants is an umpire crew chief review, because this is something that is reviewable. Mets used their challenge, but the Braves are going back to the hotel.
Well, yeah, they better do
Terry's getting no satisfaction.
They better do it quickly, because Atlanta's going to be on the bus soon.
You know, Mike Winters is not giving Terry any satisfaction. Loney continues to plead his case. The umpires are still on the field, and until they are, you never know what they might decide to do. But you see Loney getting that left elbow up into the groin of Peterson.
Yeah. And Peterson right away knew that it was improper and called correctly, I believe, by Mark Wegner.
And the umpires are not going to do a review. They are heading off, and the ball game is over. So it goes in the books as a 6-4-3 double play because of the interference on Loney that ends a rather desultory night for the Mets as they fall to the Braves 5-1. There's your game summary presented by Jeep. John Gant gets his first major league win against his old organization, going 6 2/3, allowing just 2 hits. Matt Harvey sees his streak of 3 excellent starts come to an end. He suffers his 9th loss of the year. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by StubHub. Looking for great seats? Head to StubHub, the official ticket marketplace of the New York Mets. By Subway, try the Mediterranean collection at Subway restaurants, limited time only at participating restaurants. By JetBlue. By Jeep, now celebrating its 75th anniversary. And by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. Final score tonight, the Braves 5 and the Mets 1. Game 2 of the series on Fox tomorrow. We're back with you on Pix 11 Sunday. Jacob deGrom goes against Julio Teheran. Coverage begins Sunday on Pix 11 at 12:30. Back on SNY Tuesday night for the opener of the series with the Royals. Coverage starts at 6 o'clock. Now for Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Let's join Gary Apple and Nelson Figueroa in the studio. Guys?